Which NFC North tight end might be trending towards a 2025 bust season? What impact will Cooper Kupp have on Jackson Smith and Jigba in Seattle? And who are the 42 Joes that will represent, the FFPC in the 2025 FFPC Pros versus Joes competition? Plus, the 12-time FFPC League champion Fran Shinnick hops aboard to discuss Xavier Worthy, Pat Freiermuth, Ray Davis, and so much more. Hey, we've got a great show for you. Ferrell Elliott is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour officially starts now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men that need a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. I am your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. You may know me from the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, the Better Sports Network's FFPC Insider Access Show, as well as the Fantasy Football Players Championship. Coming up on tonight's show, we're not only going to talk to the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Ferrell Elliott, but we're also going to be announcing we're minutes away from the 42 Joes that will be competing for, count them, 7 free 2026 FFPC Main Event entries in the Pros versus Joes Challenge. We already know the majority. I think we know the majority of the industry pros, if not all of them at this point, but we don't know any of the Joes, and we're going to reveal them shortly here. We're also going to talk with 12-time FFPC League winner Fran Shinnick. We're going to gauge his evaluations on Jalen Waddle, Hunter Henry, DeAndre Swift, and so much more. If you want to connect with us on X, you can do so at HSFF At Eric Balkman, check out the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship at KFFSC.com. Facebook.com/HSFF is where to post your messages there. And, of course, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. Winker reads all of your emails, and if he deems them suitable for air, he puts them on. So there you go. You can also check us out in the chat room and post on there, post on YouTube, post on X, whatever you want to do. We'll try to get to all those in our fantasy feedback segment coming up later on in the show. I want to thank our audio engineer and my best friend Bryce, and, of course, our producer and mutual friend Rob. Want to let you know the FFPC Big Gorilla Tournament has its early rampage coming to an end. I'm going to load it up here right now and find out how many early rampage teams are left. Remember, this is the tournament within the tournament. So if you are one of the first 200 leagues, if you draft in one of the first 200 leagues of this competition, you'll be eligible for not only $1 million grand prize, but a $10,000 grand prize as well. Early rampage leagues remaining is at 17. And regardless of if we still have more left, it closes on June 15th. You got to register by June 15th, draft by June 30th, and then you're eligible for that early rampage $10,000 grand prize as well. We have a midnight draft coming up later on tonight. That already has some signups, and we're about 2 hours away from that too. So check that out if you want to do some late night drafting. Otherwise, drafts will resume tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. The FFPC main event, we're going to have a couple of live drafts for that, both Saturday and Sunday. $1 million grand prize, $6 million plus prize pool. You can also join slow drafts there. And, of course, for you best ballers out there, FFPC has the Best Ball and the Superflex Best Ball Tournament, $300,000 and $100,000 grand prizes, respectively, just $125 and $35 to join. $100K for the runner-up in the Best Ball Tournament this year. That's new. 30-second, 2-hour, 6-hour, and 60-second and 6-hour clocks as well. If you want to draft in that. MyFFPC.com is your home for Dynasty Fantasy Football. We got plenty of startups available there. The RotoViz, TriFlex, the Empire, whatever you want to do. Superflex, Best Ball Dynasty, we have it all. 2,000-plus leagues over the last 15 years. None have ever folded. Get over to myffpc.com, myffpc.com. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share with your friends, share with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live. More to come on a schedule update, a big live schedule update next week that I actually have to I have more to figure out on Wednesday with Ferrell and Aiden, but we'll take care of that when we take care of that. I want to bring in, speaking of Ferrell, he is the co-host of this show. He is the commissioner of the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. I believe I'm on the clock in one of those drafts right now, so I'll try to make a pick while we're talking to Fran and we're talking to Ferrell tonight, so I'm not holding up the draft. You know him, you love him. He is the incomparable, definitive fantasy football commissioner, Ferrell Elliott. Ferrell, good Friday the 13th to you.
Buddy, I tell you, I'm known and loved. Boy, you talk about an ego booster, Balky. Your introductions are priceless. Thank you for those kind words, sir.
You're very welcome.
I'm excited to hear all the great things that we have in plan tonight. And, Fran Shinnick is an FFPC player that the KFFSC is fortunate to share, and he'll be making his first trip to the league this year in person. So I'm excited about that. And, Balky, I just reserved some rooms at the Paris in Las Vegas, and I have decided that I'm going to arrive on Wednesday, and I'm going to stay for the entire week.
Good for you. Yeah.
Run me out of town, man.
Normally I leave usually on Sunday because it's my son's birthday,
Yes,
but this year his birthday is on Tuesday. So I'm going to hang out, watch all the games with everybody on Sunday and watch the games Monday night, go home on Tuesday. Very excited for that. It's going to be a great time. Hopefully everybody who's watching can join us out in Las Vegas for those main live events, excuse me. One of the players that will be drafted in those live events will be Keon Coleman, which I think is interesting, Ferrell, that we're leading off with him tonight because I've been Mr. Shakir for the last couple of weeks. Had an interesting conversation with Khalil Shakir versus Keon Coleman with Alan Soslowski on the RotoWire Dynasty show I did with him this morning. And I think what's interesting here about Coleman is maybe we're underrating what he did. Nick Sabato, who covers the Bills for the Niagara Gazette, said that Coleman chipped a bone in his wrist in week 9 this past year. He misses weeks 10 to 14, was still on the injury report when he came back. There was some sort of fracture. And when you think about what he did in week 7, 125 receiving yards, that was a career high. Week 8, he had 5 catches. That was a career high. Week 9, boom, fractured wrist, misses the next 5 weeks, and then he's still in the injury report when he came back. Sabato said that Coleman looks like a different player during mini camps this spring. Again, a couple of things here. It's mini camp. It's nothing to get overly excited about. However, it is interesting because this is a second-year player, and oftentimes we see, especially receivers, make a second-year leap. Now, Khalil Shakir just got paid. He got paid big time by the Bills in the offseason. So there's a lot of things, like some people are Team Shakir and some people are Team Coleman here. And I kind of want to get your thoughts on this. If you are drafting a Bills receiver, these are the top 2 Bills receivers being drafted in the FFPC Big Gorilla right now. Shout out to Fantasy Mojo, Darren Armani, who runs fantasymojo.com. And anytime we recite any ADPs on the show, it's all dedicated to him because he puts in the legwork on this. Khalil Shakir, wide receiver 42 at the 806. Keon Coleman, wide receiver 53 at the 1102. Ferrell, is it worth paying that little bit extra price to get Shakir on your team? Or would you rather wait and draft Keon Coleman, whatever it is, about a round and a half later?
I admire both players, and if I like the build that I'm coming with, I would want to stack these players. I think this is a combo that's going to be very successful this year. And you hit all the fine points about Coleman, Balky. He was a rookie. He did play well. He did get injured. He also just turned 22 years old. He came in the league at 21 years old at 215 pounds on a 6'3" frame. He's been around. He has high expectations for his own game. I think he's going to blossom in Buffalo this year. And I've been a Shakir fan ever since he walked off the campus at Boise State. You can't do any better than Shakir at this. What did you say he was being drafted? 8th round?
Shakir is going in the middle of the 8th round. Yes.
It's a bit nonsensical because there's a lot of competing players that have now sort of moved out of the way for this. So I really like both these players. So yeah, I'll take both of them if I can get them. Yeah,
and you could get both if you want to do that. I think that's more of a best ball play.
I don't think so.
Well, I mean, you could do it in redraft.
I don't think so.
It's the FFPC. The only rule is there are no rules. Build your team however you want to do it. That's part of the mystique.
No, I think they're both going to have significant games together is what I'm saying.
And you have Josh Allen, the reigning MVP, who's been a top 2 fantasy quarterback for like 6 years. I think JJ Zachariason just said on Sigmund Bloom's On the Couch show this week. And Bills have one of the best offenses in the league. How can you go wrong? I'll tell you what you could go wrong, and that's drafting Colston Loveland. I haven't made up my mind on this yet, Ferrell, but Ben Johnson says he's not sure if Colston Loveland is going to be a full go for the start of training camp. Training camp, which starts in August, dude. We're still in mid-June. He's dealing with the shoulder issue. I believe he's recovering from shoulder surgery, off-season shoulder surgery. Red contact jersey is what he had during minicamp. He's been lifting weights. He's been running routes, but he has not participated in practice so far. He was the 10th overall pick in the draft. Cole Kmet will be the other tight end that are going to really help Caleb Williams down the seam here. But Loveland, let's not focus on dynasty. We're in redraft mode here. When you think about Colston Loveland in redraft, knowing that he is kind of getting off to this slow start, knowing that until last year, we really saw, 2 years ago, we really saw rookie tight end struggle. Colston Loveland is tight end 13 at the 9-11. He's almost being drafted as a starter. To me, reading this and knowing that he's still recovering from this shoulder surgery, I think that might be a little too rich for my blood.
If you look at the collection of tight ends that played last year, those 60 to 65 catches, there's a glut, perhaps, or a grouping of players that caught that many passes. And that's what you're going to want out of a ninth round tight end. And I don't know if you can get that with a guy, a rookie player that's dealing with injuries. Now, especially with Kmet there. That's the other wild card.
And they paid him as well, Ferrell.
Yeah. And he's, I picked on Kmet in his career. I like him in the red zone. He proved me last year to be a very, very solid tight end. This is a player that at this price I'm going to avoid right now. I'm glad that I have him in the dynasty leagues. I think he's a very good player. If he opens up the season on injured reserve, so be it. But I think I've done all I want to do with this player until I gotta see it to believe it.
We are just minutes away from revealing the 2025 Joes and the FFPC Pros versus Joes. We'll reveal that shortly. I want to talk about this Colt situation. And Ferrell, I apologize if we already talked about this.
I think we did.
Anthony Richardson is not going to have a timetable put on his shoulder with the recovery, according to Shane Steichen. This is the same shoulder that he had surgery on the AC joint 2 years ago. He's re-injured again. Apparently, that surgery is not in the cards right now. It's going to be rest. But I know oftentimes, especially with shoulders, sometimes rest eventually turns into surgery anyway.
Yes.
So my concern here is not necessarily for Richardson. I mean, it is. I hope he's healthy. I hope he gets healthy. But my fantasy concern is not with Richardson v. Daniel Jones. It's the Pittman. It's the Downs. It's the pass catchers. Tyler Warren you could throw in there as well. Reiterate, since I know we already discussed this, what you think is going to happen. I think Daniel Jones is going to be under center week 1. I think at some point Richardson comes back, and then what does that do for Downs, Pittman, and Warren?
Well, naturally, I think Pittman is going to be fine. He says his number one option. I think the quarterback that we have in the room here in his first year coming into Indianapolis will be a big test year for him. And I like the player. He's flashed some things. We're going to go back. I think we talked about it before, but we're going to go back to his early days in his career where he did some good things in a more managed aspect. And these are all professional receivers and the young tight end Warren. I like the tools that he has there to be successful. So I'm not going to worry about the other players. The one player that I think was a great best ball player that without Richardson is probably not as good a pick is Alec Pierce, but no one's really talking about him as much as I am either.
You can get him late. I might even have taken him late in KFFSC Draftmaster now that I think about it. But I think he's interesting for sure. Last point I'll bring up before we reveal the PVJ Joes. Mike Duger from The Athletic believes it's, quote, still really hard to cover Cooper Kupp when he's lined up in the slot. He said this on the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. He's saying that Kupp has a certain wiggle that has him playing pretty well on 3 routes that keep him in the short to intermediate depths. Now, Duger also said, or Duggar, I should know how to pronounce his name, and I don't. They're lining both Cooper Kupp and Jackson Smith and Jigba pretty much everywhere. So slot, perimeter, wherever. But he does expect JSN to be more on the perimeter in high leverage situations this year. So they signed Cooper Kupp. They're going to try to keep him relevant. They're going to try to keep him relevant for fantasy. I don't know if that's going to be successful, Ferrell, but he's going as late as he has been. I mean, maybe in his career. Wide receiver 44 right now at the 8-12 for Cooper Kupp. I know, like, it's a bit of a cringe pick for me there, but Cooper Kupp, after this report, as my number 4 receiver in the FFPC or KFFSC, it doesn't taste great, but it's definitely edible.
This is a validating pick, Balky. A validating story about a player that you could pick in the 8th round. I think is stealing. I think Cooper Kupp is in line for another excellent year. There's no reason to take this player who obviously was looking for a change of venue and now is going home. And I think Cooper Kupp is very excited about moving forward with this team and what he's going to do with the new face of this team. And I like it. I like it a lot.
I like it a lot too. And I'm starting to like it more and more every day. Without further ado, we have kept you waiting long enough. Fran Shinnick is standing by. We're going to talk with him right after we announce these pros versus Joes. Once again, these are the 42 Joes that will compete against the 42 industry pros in 7 separate leagues, the winner of which will each get a free FFPC main event team in 2026 to compete for $1 million grand prize on the house. But you got to earn it. You got to beat the 5 Joes, and you got to beat the 6 industry pros in your league. The overall winner will get that awesome custom belt that Darren Armani showed off last year, which is very, very cool. These are in no particular order, I don't believe. Yeah, I've randomized these, so you're going to have to listen to the whole list to see if your name has been called. And I'll kick it off by keeping up with the Joneses. Dennis and Stephen Jones, congratulations. You are the first Joes in this year. Followed by another tandem. Brian Lindo and Jeff Kuzmano are also going to be participating this year. And I might butcher some of these names, so I apologize. Nate Modisette and Stephen Perry, another duo. They will be teaming up to play in Pros vs. Joes. Greg Link, welcome aboard. Zachary and Gerard Renz will also be covering their draft here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Scott Fritz is in. Joe Van Gogh, a longtime guest on not only this show, but the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown. He'll be participating as well. He will be a tough guy to compete with, too. Bob Buonopane is also aboard, representing Italy. I don't know. Maybe America. I have no idea. Stephen Fox, congratulations. You are a Pros versus Joe this year. Welcome back to a pair of guys who have drafted in this contest before, I think multiple times. Roy Parenzuela and Corey Hanstein will be teaming up to draft again, as will Kyle Hoff and Ryan Heller. Welcome aboard to the Pros versus Joes team. Waleed Makbul is also going to be on the roster for the Joes this year. The guy who already popped in the chat earlier tonight to say the Ferrell and Balky shirts, which I apologize, Stephen. I know you've sent me the mock-up. I have not had a chance to look at it yet. And a guy who was on the show just a couple of weeks ago, Stephen Hirgalos and Michael Reddy, welcome aboard to Pros versus Joes this year. Ken Orovets is also going to be a Joe. Ferrell, you know these guys fairly well. Petri and Larson. Brad Petri, Darren Larson. They'll be drafting in Pros versus Joes. Bill Lazell, another longtime FFPC player. He's in as well. Daryl Burker is in. Lawrence Ehrlichman is in. A guy who has been on many podcasts that I have done over the years for the FFPC. Rob Vieira is also in once again for Pros versus Joes. Another former guest of this show, John Zaleski, is also going to be a Joe this year. Rick Raymaker, a guy that if you watch this show, you know him well. He and Andy Rule will also be participating in Pros versus Joes, as well as Robert Tomasino. And from Tomasino, we go to Nick Costantino, and Sean Stutzman, 2/3 of the Go Bills franchise that won the FFPC main event in back-to-back years. They'll be in Pros vs. Joes this year. Albert and Kyle Leach, welcome aboard. Al Leach has been on this show before. Jason Camp is in. Our good buddy Ferrell, Vince Staffolino, made the cut this year. His name was picked. He will be in Pros vs. Joes. Ron Hacker, Mark Steffen will also be competing, as well as Gary Morgan, David Martino, Frank Puleo, Nick Thompson, all in Pros versus Joes this year. Congratulations, guys. A few more names here I'll get to. John Rozek, the Fantasy Football Hall of Famer, longtime FFPC and KFFSC player. He's in. The Pride of Australia, Grian Myers, will be competing from Down Under in the Pros versus Joes. So, and then another guy, another tandem we know well, hung out with these guys in Vegas plenty of times, and we've hung out with Drew in Kentucky, Drew and Josh Maselli in Pros versus Joes as well.
Those are some fine guys.
It's a tough field. I'll tell you who's also making it tougher. The next name, who's done a couple of shows with me over the last decade and a half, Shelley Fossum is also in as well. Daniel Amato, Todd Aaron is in as well. The Hook boys, Ben and Randall Hook, are also in. Tuesday night's guest on the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown. I was texting him about it, and I already knew the results. Billy Van Ormer will be joining me live on Tuesday, and he's in Pros versus Joes. Congratulations. I know he really wanted in. He got in. 2 names left. We have Eric Young, and the final Joe this year will be Chris Carlson. Congratulations to the 42 Joes. We are going to post this somewhere. I'll probably post it in an FFPC email, so in case you missed this broadcast tonight, you'll be able to check it out and see that you're in. And then Darren Armani will hook up with you, and you'll be able to find out when you're drafting, live or slow. You can pick which draft you'll be in, and I will get that all squared away. Congratulations, everybody.
Good job, buddy.
Let's get in. Scott Hoyt, guess I sucked so bad last year. Don't even qualify as a Joe. You do qualify as a Joe, Scott. You just didn't win. It's your name. I know he's participated before. You never know when you might get in again. So best of luck to you in 2026, Scott. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, Stephen Yorgalis. Balky, as long as I don't have to draft against you again this week, I'm feeling confident. Steven and I are in a KFFSC draft right now, a slow draft, and we're not even close. I think I have the 10 pick and he's got the 1 pick. So it's not like we're sniping each other at all. Jay Wimmers, yes, I may have left your name in the hat. Maybe next year. We'll see what happens there.
Hey, Colin Hoffman checked in. It says maybe next year.
Yeah, Pride of Appleton, Wisconsin.
Hope Springs Eternal for Colin, and Colin owes me a phone call, by the way.
Oh, he does? Okay,
Yeah.
well, Cullen,
I'm ready to collect anytime.
challenge extended, Cullen, on that. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to get to our guest tonight.
Yes.
He's been on this show before. He is a guy who has added a few more championships since the last time we talked with him. And he joins us tonight to talk about so much. A lot of player takes. We're going to get into Evan Engram. We'll get into Hunter Henry. And I believe, what was the other question we had? Oh, yeah, we got a J.K. Dobbins question for him as well. Please welcome back onto the show, Mr. Fran Shinnick. Fran, welcome aboard, man. I'm glad to have you.
Happy to be here, guys. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I always love talking with you, although I do have to make a slight confession. I don't like to start off these interviews with lies, but I did say I read off all 42 Joes. I really only read off 41. The 42nd Joe is Fran Shinnick. Congratulations.
There we go.
Yes. All right.
There we go.
That is awesome.
Yeah, congratulations, man. It's going to
you.
be fun. Have you ever drafted in it before? I don't think you have you?
I don't think so. I think this is the first time. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, that'll be fun. Yeah,
I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's and we can't wait. Well, if you do draft in one of the live ones when we cover it, you'll have to pop on and make a pick or two live on the air, so Ferrell and I can bust your chops.
Can criticize. Sure. Why
exactly.
not?
Yes.
We're all for you, Fred.
Yeah.
Speaking of criticism, there was a lot of criticism about the Dolphins' offense last year and how it shifted away from Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to Jonnu Smith and Devon Achane. First question for you, Fran. Your confidence level in Jalen Waddle bouncing back to have a Waddle-like season in 2025?
Yeah, I'm very high on Jalen Waddle. I think he's going to bounce back. I think he had a tough year last year, as did most of the Dolphins. But I really think that he's a good player. He's proven he's a good player. I think he's good. I think he's going to bounce back. You've got. Tyreek, I think, is wearing down a little bit, and there's all this talk about Jonnu possibly being traded. I really think if either of those things, and Tyreek being traded as well, so I really think if either of those things happen, really could be wheels up for Waddle. I think he's and where you're getting him now in the 6th round is great. So I'm all over him whenever I can get him.
Yeah, I think you make a good point, and that's cost. I actually didn't, when I sent you this question, I did not look up his ADP. I just looked it up right now on Mojo, and in the Big Gorilla over the last 3 days or whatever it's been, wide receiver 32 at the 6'10 right now. I mean, my God, again, you're buying floor, but you could get some ceiling there. Again, if any of these things happen, if Hill loses a step, if Hill gets traded, all the things that you mentioned here, I think it works in his favor. This is Jerry Jeudy, Chris Godwin, Calvin Ridley territory there that Waddle's going in. So, yeah, I'm with you on this, Fran.
I read an article recently that they were talking about, he had some drops issues last year. And he took up juggling in the off season to work on it. So that's what the good ones do. They keep at their craft, and I think he's a talented guy. I think he's going to be.
The last wide receiver that everyone complained about having drop issues in the early summer was Jamar Chase. Things seemed to work out all right for him that year. I remember. Oh yeah, he's dropping passes. I don't think.
Remember Ferrell when Jamar Chase was a rookie, and it was all about like he can't see the ball because the stripes are different. That seemed to work out okay.
Yeah, it's amazing some of the things that can get cooked up on the proverbial back burner between now and when September rolls around. Fran, I know you regularly watch the show when you can. Last week in the chat room, especially, we had a tremendous attack on the Kansas City Chiefs offense. According to our chat room, a lot of guys have given up on Mahomes. Kelsey, expect Kelsey to have a huge drop-off this year for some reason. But I'm a believer in more talent is good for everybody. So the coexisting between Worthy and Rice in Kansas City, could that be the combo that propels Mahomes to be the fantasy quarterback that we all think he could be? And which one of those receivers, is it both of them, or is it just one that would be a league winner for fantasy football?
Yeah, I don't know if I can pick one. I mean, I'd probably lean towards Rice, but certainly, I think the question was, will Rice coming back have an impact on Worthy? And I certainly think it'll affect Worthy's targets, but I'm very high on Mahomes and the KC offense. They were embarrassed in the Super Bowl. I don't think Mahomes and Reed are just going to sit back and say, okay, we'll just win it with defense and grinding it out. I think they're going to shift away from the Kelsey-centric offense a little bit, and I think you're going to see them going downfield a little bit more. So I think the pie is plenty big enough for both of those guys. I like them both, and I love Mahomes in the 7th round. It's like, okay, you give me all of that. Give me all of that too. So I'm liking that.
Terry McLaurin is decided not to report for mandatory minicamp. He's coming up on 30 years old. He might actually even be 30 years old right now. And obviously there's a bit of a disagreement on cash. I would imagine that they would find a way to work that out. But when you consider the age, and when you consider that some people, not everybody, are drafting him based on a lot of touchdowns last year. 13 touchdowns is awesome, but that is not a sticky stat. And he caught 13 touchdowns in just 82 catches. How concerned are you? I know I painted a kind of a semi-bleak 2025 picture for Terry McLaurin, but he's still on a really good offense, has an awesome quarterback, maybe an MVP quarterback in Jaden Daniels. But you're concerned about the touchdown regression for him this year, Fran, when you consider that when you look at where he's being drafted, McLaurin, right now, if you want him, you have to pay a wide receiver 19 $312 draft capital.
Yeah, you're right. TDs aren't sticky, so you have to worry about the regression. It's almost, you almost have to expect it. But he's paired up with Jaden Daniels, and that's pretty exciting. And I'm looking at his ADP. Yeah, it's 312, but you look at the guys going after him. You got Marvin Harrison, you Rashee Rice, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, DJ Moore. I think he's right about where he should be. I might make an argument, for Rice and Harrison, but I think he's going right about where he should be. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to have TD regression, but you've got Jaden Daniels. You do have the contract situation, so I hope that's going to work out. But
Ferrell, deadline spur auction, so it may not be getting done tomorrow, but they're going to work that out, right? I mean, the Commanders are going to pay him. He'll be there.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that'll happen.
Yeah, and I've always liked McLaurin as a player. I like him. I think he's going around where he should be. I don't know what else I could say.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Tyreek Hill. You mentioned something against Tyreek Hill, Marvin Harrison. I get. I mean, like, it's not like I'm fading McLaurin at that point. I don't love him, but I'm fine with it.
Right.
If you look at the 49ers, this is 49ers East front office, and if you that explains a little bit about their methods of paying players and sometimes how long it takes. Because if you think back to the 49ers, we've had similar situations with players out there. Fran, this is my favorite time of the pros versus Joes. It's all very, very much uphill for me here because I'm a big fan of all the Joes, and now as we get, and I'm a big fan of the drafts and the live draft coverage, but we got to talk to a lot of pros coming up, and I mean they come on the show and they really expect Balky to have to butter their muffin. I mean, it's really just but last year we had a pro that came in, the tight end whisperer, Balky. What's his name?
That's Andrew Cooper from Fantasy Alarm.
Well, I tell you what, he was right on line. He came in last year and he told us that the best buy in all of tight end 2024 was Hunter Henry. Now, Hunter Henry, he was in a sort of an anemic offense that got a little better towards the end of the year. Only 2 touchdown receptions, but the 60-plus catches, I think, might have been 68. Hunter Henry's in his 8th year last year, maybe 9th year this year. That was the most receptions he had ever had, ever since being in the league. And I thought that was a great, great call. I don't think he's going to lead this team in pass catching, but who else is there to do it? Can he exceed last year's numbers? Should he find the end zone a little more? And Balky may tell us where he's being picked, but my thoughts are that, and I'm not real sure, but in receptions, it might have been maybe 6th or 7th of all the tight ends last year. And so tipping my hat to that Joe, he came on the show and made a very good call.
Yeah, Hunter Henry, I really liked him last year. I drafted a lot of them. I'm a Patriots fan, so I thought he was a very logical choice. Mm-hmm. The problem was Austin Hooper. They used Austin Hooper quite a bit, and Hooper actually had 3 touchdowns to Henry's 2. Mm-hmm. So I like Henry. Will he lead them in receptions again this year? It's possible. He certainly could. He would probably be the best bet. But I think that I'm hoping that I'm very high on Kyle Williams, for instance, and Pop Douglas as well. So I like Henry, but I don't see Hooper going away. So I think they're both going to be there, and they sort of cancel each other out a little bit. That would be my answer there. But I do like Kyle Williams quite a bit. I think that a lot of people that I trust seem to like him, and the Patriots have a terrible track record with wide receivers. I'm hoping maybe they find they found the nut this time, and I'm hearing good things, and he might be just the thing that May needs. May needs a good speed guy down the field. I think he throws a nice deep ball, and I'm hoping that Kyle Williams can come through, and the kid Henderson on the backfield can help him too. So I'm optimistic they're going to be better. They've improved the line a little bit. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, no, you did. You absolutely did.
Yeah.
And I would say too, like I'm starting to warm up on Kyle Williams right now. Hunter Henry, by the way, Ferrell, tight end 23 at the 13-11 right now in the Big Gorilla. That is between Mason Taylor and Mike Gesicki. That is where he's going right now. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic value.
I like Henry for sure.
Kyle Williams, as long as we're talking about him. And by the way, Travion Henderson is a player I've been drafting a lot too this year, Fran. And I just drafted Drake May for the first time. So maybe I'm turning into a Patriots fan. I don't know. Kyle Williams, wide receiver 56 at the 1201 right now. I want to go back in the YouTube chat, and I'm going to try to scroll up and see if I can find it. Bill Hollywood, let's post it here. Fran, if you only had one team to draft, how would you like to start it out? With a running back, with a wide receiver, or a tight end? And Fran, I guess that kind of depends where on the board your first round pick is, if you're drafting early, middle, or late. But if you had only one team, how would you like to start it out?
Yeah, that's a difficult question because it depends on where you are. I think if I have the first pick, I think it's hard not to go with Chase, for sure. I think there's a lot of sort of sentiment where the wide receivers got hurt last year and the running backs didn't. So, people are maybe I don't know. I don't have anecdotal evidence through drafts and what have you that people are going towards the running backs. But I would probably lean towards wide receiver, to be honest with you, because just because of you have the running backs. Henry and Barkley, so many carries, so much mileage on them, and last year, they stayed healthy. So I would probably lean towards wide receiver, but it does depend on what the draft slot is. Plus, I think that there are a lot of running backs later on that you can get. I think I'm more comfortable going zero or hero RB myself, so I would probably be leaning towards wide receiver.
I think I want to, speaking of tight ends, I want to shift the focus there to one tight end that's in Pittsburgh. I don't think we know DK Metcalf is going to catch a lot of passes this year from Aaron Rodgers. After that, Fran, I'm not sure if it's going to be Pat Freiermuth or Jaylen Warren. I like Jaylen Warren this year, and I don't think I've ever liked Freiermuth. I've never minded him. I've tolerated him before. I think I might like him this year because I don't know if Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson or anybody else there is going to develop into Robert Woods or whoever is there. I don't know if they're going to develop into being that second pass catcher. I think it's Freiermuth, and we know how much Arthur Smith likes to use his tight ends. How do you think Freiermuth is going to fare with Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh this year?
Well, I think the short answer for me would be I like him as much or more than I did when he had Wilson and Fields.
Yeah.
So. And so I definitely like that, and I've always liked him, and I have to say more often than not I'm fading tight end, and Freiermuth's always been the kind of guy you can get him. He's a pretty good player. The Pittsburgh offense has been a little dicey later, but I do agree with what you're saying. I like Rodgers. I like the combination there. But I got to tell you, I don't know if the crowd agrees with what I'm saying, because I was looking at some ADP from May, and Freiermuth was tight end 18, 11-2, and I looked today, and this is a Darren Armani site, of course, and he's tight end 19, 11-11. So explain that. And maybe I have something wrong there, but I would have expected it to go the other way myself. But it seems a little odd. Maybe it hasn't kicked in yet. I don't know.
I don't have a good explanation for that, actually, other than just it's the whims of drafting in June, right?
Yeah.
Like just sometimes I think because a lot of people who've been drafting already, they want to differentiate their lineups or their rosters a little bit. I don't know if that has something to do with it, but one thing I will never understand as I walk this earth for the remainder of my days, I will never understand the mind of the FFPC player. Fran, it's why we do this show. So I can pick the brains of guys like you and figure out what makes you guys tick and why the ADP is set this way. That's what we do. That's why this show is in existence.
You have so many good, really sharp people. Me, I'm a chucker. I'm the guy who's probably throwing everything off, with the ADP, So.
Fran Shinnick, ADP destroyer. That's what you are. I love it.
Fryermuth could destroy the competition if you're drafting him that late. You're a perennial 70 catch player.
Yeah, he's good.
Who plays through injury. You count on him being on the field. Just tough as nails, and yeah, it's hard. Let's stay at tight end. Let's try to find some tight ends somebody wants to draft, for God's sakes. Let's go to Denver and talk about Evan Ingram, probably the biggest bust. You talk about young tight ends, and part of it was physical. Dulich, the kid I liked out of UCLA a couple years ago, has been a complete disappointment for a variety of reasons there in Denver. Now Evan Ingram's front and center stage, and we've got to sometimes question this coach about what he's done at the tight end position over the years. What do you think happens with Ingram, a player that I really began to admire when he got out of New York Giants? Another change of scenery for Ingram. Is it going to be a positive one, Fran?
I think so. I think if he can stay healthy, it's like, wow, what's not to like? The Denver offensive line is good. Their defense is good, and the QB, young QB, where's he going to be looking? He's going to be looking for his tight end. So I think I like Ingram a lot.
And I like the fact, Fran, that the team itself is on a rise. There's big expectations for this team getting better, and I think Ingram adds to that and rides that wave. You got to throw. Was that Hoyt that made that commentary about
Isaiah Likely? Yeah.
You got to throw that up there where nobody is. We don't.
Well, now Scott is the one, and I'll just say this, just for context sake. Scott, we had on the show last year. I think it was after week 1, and he was a big proponent, and there's very good reasoning for it. He was a big proponent of taking a lot of these guys who had big week 1. So one of the guys that he did draft much earlier than where he was going prior to that opening game was Isaiah Likely. So Scott was like in top 3 overall in the main event after week 1. He did not end up top 3 for the season, but I'm not saying it's because he did what he did. He's a very intelligent player, very smart player, for sure. And by the way, he's been on this show before he did that too. Like that was not his first appearance. So he's a really sharp guy, and I enjoy talking to him too.
I like Denver. They're it looks like they're an ascending team.
Yeah.
I like Harvey too, but the Dobbins signing sort of takes the wind out of those sails a little bit anyway. I still think Harvey's going to be good, but that does change things there a little bit.
The NFL draft I think was very exciting for the Bears for a multitude of reasons. You had Ben Johnson putting his stamp on this Bears offense this year, an offense he'll be calling plays for. He's the head coach there. His very first 2 picks, I don't want to say his because he's not the GM, that's Ryan Poles, but I'm sure he had a lot of input. His very first 2 picks were skill position guys on offense. Now, if you didn't tell me what positions they were, Fran, I would have assumed one of them was either Ashton Genty or perhaps a running back in the second round, or maybe they went with a tight end in the second round. I would not have expected that running back was not either of the picks. They went with Loveland and they went with Burden, tight end and wide receiver. So DeAndre Swift dodges that bullet, and then he keeps dodging bullets like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix for the rest of the draft until they get to the 7th round, and the Bears finally take Kyle Monungai out of Rutgers. And I don't know. I mean, there's some positive stuff coming out from the beat writers about Monungai from Chicago, but DeAndre Swift, man, call him the cat because he's got 9 lives, and he might have used 7 of them already. It looks like he's still the guy in Chicago. Is that the guy you want to draft in the Bears backfield, or do you see value elsewhere?
That's a tough call. I wouldn't blame anybody for taking Swift and taking a shot on him because I think he's a little underrated. He just sort of has a little bit of a bad rap. But the problem for me is where he's going. He's going early 7th round, and I'm typically not taking running backs there the way I draft, especially if the choice is Patrick Mahomes or DeAndre Swift. I'm probably going to take Patrick Mahomes, and there are some other wide receivers here like Godwin, Juwan Jennings, Ridley, etc. So I'm probably more looking that way than I would be at running back right there. And then, the fact that you can get Roschon 7 rounds later if you want to take a shot, that's probably the way I'm going to go. But I wouldn't blame anybody. Swift could be the guy, and so why not? So I wouldn't blame anybody for doing it, but probably not me, to tell you the truth.
We can't.
Just real quick, Ferrell. I just want to follow up on that. I'm sorry, Roschon Johnson. Is there something? Is it just the offense that's around him? Is it the offensive line that's been improved? What is it about Johnson that you think he's worth the dart throw late?
Yeah, he's worth the dart throw late, and I looked today, and he's my highest owned player on FFPC. Now a lot of that is dynasty. It's like I'm going to hold on to him, hoping he becomes a thing. He hasn't. But it's sort of a low risk roll of the dice. His ADP is 14-12. So really, it's like, to me it's low risk. It's not that I'm in love with the guy, but I still think there's a chance that he could be the guy. So that's kind of how I feel about that.
Could be the guy in Buffalo was what we were talking about last year with Ray Davis. And when Ray Davis got a chance to carry the rock, like I hoped he would, I think back to an early October game versus the Jets when he not only ran the ball well, but caught it very well. And he had some moments through the season. He hit the wall late and didn't contribute a lot. 20 carries in that Jets game, about 110 carries on the season. What's his workload look like? What does it do to the backfield? How does it affect Cook? Is he a complementary player to Cook, or does he take so much away from Cook that it thwarts Cook's progress for fantasy players?
Well, I definitely think he's going to hurt Cooks, and Cook is a candidate for TD regression for sure, as well. So I certainly think Ray Davis has looked pretty good, and he flashed a little bit last year. So I would expect him to get a little bit more time. I don't know what's going on with Cook and the contract, but I do think Davis is going to eat into his playing time. Dynasty for sure. It's Ray Davis. But this year, I do think they're going to hurt each other. Plus you have Josh Allen. With all the goal line touches. So it's kind of a messy situation, if you ask me.
Running back 14 for James Cook at the moment, 402 is his ADP on Mojo. Ray Davis is running back 45. You can get him in the 11th round. That's starting to look pretty good, but he gets much higher than that, and I'm probably out on Ray Davis. But it's very interesting as it stands right now. Let's get to a couple of emails for you that came in, Fran. First one is from Carl in Lockport, Illinois. Carl, good to see you. Hi, Fran. How does J.K. Dobbins affect R.J. Harvey now? We kind of touched on this a little bit, but the addition of Dobbins, I have some thoughts on this. I quite frankly, I've shared them enough. Fran, I want to know what you think the impact is of Dobbins now that he's in the same backfield as R.J. Harvey, who is the highest drafted Broncos running back.
Yeah, brings tears to my eyes is what it does, because I had drafted Harvey in a few spots. How can it not hurt him? I don't think it ruins Harvey, but Dobbins is, if he stays healthy, how can he not eat into Harvey's touches? So it's absolutely a negative. I mean, dynasty, not so much, but certainly for redraft for best ball, I think it hurts a little bit. I took some early shots on Harvey. Having Dobbins now, I definitely think that is a damper on that.
I think that, and this is how I've always treated it. I just always felt Denver was going to add somebody, even after the draft. I don't know who it was going to be. I didn't think it was going to be necessarily a difference maker, so to speak, but he does change things for Harvey. Now, a couple of positive things about this, and if you already have Harvey, maybe this isn't a positive, but this should move him down in ADP a little bit more. Sean Payton has a history of using a lot of different backs, but at the same time, usually that number one back is a capital letter number one back. You think about, Kamara is a perfect example of that. So I still do think Harvey is the guy here in Denver. And maybe the fact that Dobbins is in there, Fran, we look at it from the standpoint of like, maybe Harvey's got a really good chance of staying healthy for all 17 games now because they won't have to run him into the ground. They have J.K. Dobbins as well.
Yeah. I would have preferred an older guy like Chubb or something, but Dobbins can be really good. So that's a little scary.
It is. I'm not saying it's ideal.
For those that have already drafted Harvey.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. One more email for you here, Fran. Josh in Little Falls, New Jersey. Thank you for the email. How good or bad is TJ Hawkinson going to be with JJ McCarthy throwing him the football this year? Thanks so much. That's Josh in Little Falls, New Jersey. Fran, your thoughts on Hawkinson this year with a brand new quarterback, a quasi-rookie quarterback, I could say, too, with McCarthy.
It's like Josh read my mind. I think Hawkinson's a great value at tight end. I think McCarthy, again, maybe it's hopium, I don't know, but a lot of people really love him. And, if he's good, I think young QB and a big tight end, it's a no-brainer. So I love Hawkinson. I think McCarthy's going to be good, and I think Hawkinson's is going to be good. So I love that combo.
Final question, Ferrell. It's all.
Balky, there's no more emails.
We just had the 2 emails for Fran.
There's wow. Fran, you answered all the questions so well, no one could even come up with any more emails. So I'll ask you this. Now, Fran, disclaimers. We can't talk about players we've already talked about. They cannot be on this list. They cannot be part of the answer to this question. When you get to Kentucky, when you get to Las Vegas, who are you not going to draft? Who's somebody that you're just not going to touch? And then who have you not shared with us, if those main events were today, here on Friday the 13th in June, who would be the guy that you just really have to get on each of your teams?
Well, it's tough because we have talked a little bit about some of them, but I would definitely.
Yeah, we can't talk about them. We can't use this, guys.
All right. Okay.
Fresh material.
By the way, Fran, that is Ferrell's rule. That is not my rule.
Yes, sir. I have no control, though, Fran. So if you want to use any player, you can. I cannot hit a button to quieten you down.
I'm staying away from Tyreek Hill. I don't know how much of that is. I just think he's wearing down a little bit, or my man love for Waddle. But I'm staying away from Hill. Another guy we haven't talked about that I'm just letting other people take him would be Debo. I'm just a little worried about his.
Let other people have Debo. Who's somebody you gotta have?
Somebody I gotta have. That's a tough one. Maybe Pacheco, because I think he's going late. He's going the end of the 7th round. I think he's going to have a good year. I like him. I like Kyle Williams late. So I know I'm cheating. I'm throwing a couple names at you.
That's okay.
Yeah, those.
Well, Nick Costantino checks in tonight. He says he can't wait for Vegas, and he's in the Pros versus Joes. And I'm glad he came in with that, because I must point out that here on Friday the 13th, it would be terrible, terrible luck not to talk about a Las Vegas Raider. We have not talked about a Las Vegas Raider on the show yet, and I think that's just a terrible situation. And you, being a New Englander, being a fan of, there he is, being a fantastic supporter of football in general and Patriot football, your Tom Brady has now left you first for Tampa, and now finding his way into the owner's suite with the Las Vegas Raiders. I'd open it up to Balky first, but this is something we haven't talked about, but I'll weigh in with it quickly. When I started in this football business many, many years ago, I was there to see the first $1 million a season quarterback, Joe Montana. Now, all these years later, we've seen it get to a point where players actually can own a piece of a team. And Tom Brady is the most prominent first one to do so. I think he brings a lot of I think he brings a lot of history of good football decisions to the team and brings some winning culture to the teams. I've already see it. A player that nobody's talking about, but is Tommy Mellett, a player from North Dakota, who is the heir apparent to what Brady would see as his Edelman now with the Raiders, and that's a player that I think has his stamp all over it. So, do you have anything about your partially led Brady Raiders that you would like to talk about?
Well, yeah, I love Tom Brady. I'm a big Patriots fan, and I'm a huge Brady fan. And that was my question to you, to both of you. What is the perspective? From 30,000 feet, I get the feeling that he's having a positive impact, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it. What do you think? Is he changing the culture? Are they on the right track now? Is that how you two feel? Because I'm still rooting for the guys. As weird as that is now, rooting for the Raiders, I'm rooting for Brady. It's
Well,
Balky, come in on that, and then I'll finish up.
Yeah, here's how I feel. I mean, anytime you have these great athletes who have these fantastic athletic careers as a player, and once they step into the front office or they put on the headset, and I'm talking about all sports, it doesn't have to necessarily be football, it doesn't always work out the best. And that's not really a detriment to guys like Brady. Michael Jordan might have been the greatest basketball player of all time. Wasn't a great owner, and he wasn't a good coach. And now we're going to see him in the booth, and God knows I don't think he's going to be very good at that either. The thing that I always come back to is I think these guys were so great because there's nobody like them, right? They were so elite at their craft. And then when they go into a position where they have to rely on other people or they have to get other people to be at that same level somehow in doing their gig, it doesn't always translate. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen with Brady and the Raiders. I think the Pete Carroll hire was really good. Obviously, I'm a fan of John Spytek. Shout out Waukesha, Wisconsin. So I think that they're making the right decisions. I like what they're doing on offense. That's a really good offensive line. But Bowers and Genty out there, I think Jacoby Myers is underrated. We'll see what happens with Jack Besh. And I think getting the quarterback like Geno Smith, he's not gonna, he's not a mountain mover. But to your point, Fran, I think this is going in the right direction. It has to, because my God, that division is just going to be brutal this year. The AFC West or the NFC North, one of those divisions are the toughest in pro football. So I would be cautiously optimistic, but understanding that the Raiders are probably fourth in the pecking order in that division. I have to rein in my expectations for them. But I do think that a lot of the decisions that they made this offseason, not only with player personnel, but front office, ownership, I think they were all good by and large. So, yes, I'm on board.
Good.
There's so much change in the front office league-wide that it's probably the perfect time for Brady to step into this situation. And not only is he, his relationship with the group coming over from Tampa, his relationship with Mark Davis, and I think the way he's presenting himself, you mentioned Jordan, Elway was mentioned in the chat, but I can't see Jordan or Elway sitting through a roast of either of them.
No.
I think we learned a little bit about Brady, and he has a well-publicized divorce, a crypto misstep, yet he put himself out there, and I think it sort of tells you something about that this guy's chapter is not over with what he wants to accomplish yet. So it's good. It's good for the team. More importantly, it's good for the league, and I'm just thrilled that players can now have an ownership position with the team. We've come a long way.
I think it is pretty cool too for a lot of these guys who grew up watching Tom Brady as a kid, and they get drafted or signed by the Raiders. Like, wow, Tom Brady owns the team I'm playing for. Like, I'm playing for Brady. That's kind of cool. I got to believe that has some kind of a positive impact as well.
Yeah.
Hey, don't we have Stephen G T-shirts to sell?
Okay. Here's the thing. He sent me the prototype in my email. I have not looked at it yet. And that's on me. Like it's been a busy week or so, but I will take a look at that. And for sure we'll get these t-shirts going. I don't know how much money there is in t-shirts. but we might find out.
Balky, if your face is on it, it's worth a fortune.
God, I wish my wife would say stuff like that. Fran Shinnick was awesome once again tonight. So much fun talking with you, Fran. Congratulations once again on being one of the 42 Joes that are going to be competing for 7 FFPC main event free teams in 2026. Congratulations on all your success so far as well in your 12, count them 12 now, FFPC league titles. And hopefully we'll talk with you when you're drafting in Pros versus Joes. And I'll see you in Kentucky. And will I see you in Vegas as well?
Well, I don't remember committing to Kentucky.
Oh, okay. Paperwork. All right.
I
I think
paperwork
Ferrell
here.
because I've won a couple of KFFSC main events, he thinks I'm locked in, but I'm not sure.
I have paperwork. Matter of fact, I confirmed that there's a reservation at the hotel in your name.
All
This
right.
is how we do it down here. We kill you with kindness. And
Well, thank you guys for having me on. It's great. You guys do a great job, and I'm honored to have spoken with you.
Thank you, Fran. You be good. Enjoy drafting season, and we'll see you when we see you for sure.
You too.
All right, man.
Bye-bye.
That thanks so much. That is Fran Shinnick, 12-time FFPC league title winner, and 2025 FFPC Pros versus Joes Joe. Awesome. I always like to surprise people like that. I think we've done it like 3 or 4
I thought
times.
that was pretty slick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the thing is I only do it once a year. And even Sean Green, who was in the chat tonight, he's like, oh, I remember this 1 year ago today. Balky had me on the show, and then he told me I was a Joe. I'm like, Sean, don't ruin it. Like, this is what we're doing for Fran tonight, too. But I think because I only do it once a year, people like kind of forget that I do that. But now next year, people are going to be like, oh, who's ever coming on the show and they announce the Joes, he's going to be in trouble. Or maybe they will. Maybe they'll forget again. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. We are going to see what happens with the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. Ferrell, I'm enjoying drafting in that right now. With everything going on, we have still spots available both in Louisville and Northern Kentucky. But if you want to draft now, there's plenty of main events, slow drafts, main events going on, starting in live main events starting in a couple of months here. But the Sweet 16s is that what I should be calling it? The Sweet 16s?
Yeah, that's the Sweet 16 Best Ball Championship.
Thank you. Yes.
The Sweet 16 Best Ball Championship. And Balky, we will have some. We've completed our first slow draft for this year's main event. There are slow drafts available to join now, and there will be late June, early July published main events, live main events on the site forthcoming. But yeah, our best ball championship, 96 teams, limited to 96 teams, a $300 entry gets a $10,000 grand prize. And we have one going off, the Old Fashioned, named after my favorite bourbon drink. We have one spot remaining. So whoever would like to grab that spot can either log on, sign up, or give me a call, because we want to get started tomorrow with that, and our slow drafts. And I think it has a lot to do with the quality of drafters that are coming on the show, hanging out in the chat room, and how long they've been with us. But our slow drafts are moving very, very quick. For a 28 rounder to get through it in about 18 days is pretty impressive.
I'm just looking at, because I'm in that Old Fashioned division. By the way, the Old Fashioned tastes totally different in Wisconsin, but it is a standard cocktail up here. You're probably going to have a couple of those when you come up and visit me in August or Mile.
Yes, sir.
Very excited about that. But everybody in that, I mean, you get Adam Krautwurst, Jake Valike, Mike Mattingly, Stephen Hergalos is in that one as well. Doc Hutcherson. We got Stu Keen. Dom Gazzetti is in that. I mean, there's a ton of people. It's going to be a lot of fun. So hopefully we can get that league going on tomorrow. We just need, as they always say, we need one hero to fill that up, and then it will go off here shortly. KFFSC.com is where to go for that. Once again, KFFSC.com. Ferrell, I'm going to have to – I know we can't do a show on Friday next week.
Okay.
But I'm trying to schedule something maybe Wednesday, maybe Monday. I know we won't have one Tuesday. We won't have one Thursday. But I will let you know. I'll let the viewers know as soon as I know, because I got to coordinate with Aiden on some things on this. But I will let you know. But at some point next week, we will do this again.
I'll be ready when you are, Balky, and you better get that T-shirt mock-up ready.
Yes, I know. That's on me. I'm the holdup. Hi, hello, it's me. I'm the problem. Whatever the Taylor Swift is. From DeAndre Swift to Taylor Swift, we had it all tonight. Ferrell, be good. Have a great weekend, man.
See you, bro.
That is Ferrell Elliott, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, joining me tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. I want to thank him. I want to thank Fran Shinnick, the FFPC, Rob, Bryce, and of course, each and every one of you. We will be back next week. I'm not sure if it's a Monday show or a Wednesday show. I got a jam-packed schedule next week with shows. Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Billy Van Ormer, a longtime FFPC and KFFSC player, multi-league champion, and FFPC Pros versus Joe. He will be joining me at 10 p.m. for a conversation that night. Thursday, I'm going to have Corbin Young from Rotoballer on the Insider Access show on the Better Sports Network. That goes from 7 until 9. So that's our schedule next week. I think we have live draft coverage. In fact, I'm going to look that up right now. I should be more prepared for this, and I apologize, but I want to promote whatever I can. Scott Barrett, is that next week? Yes, that is next week at 8 p.m. Scott Barrett. So probably be a Monday show for the HSFF hour. More to come on that. But there's going to be live Big Gorilla draft coverage with Aiden LaCorey, Dave Terpoli, and then Fantasy Points. Scott Barrett is going to join us for that as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then maybe we'll do shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday next week. We're going to break YouTube with all the FFPC coverage. Speaking of FFPC coverage, the FFPC main event going on right now, $1 million grand prize, Best Ball Tournament and Superflex Best Ball Tournament. Enter for $125 or $35 respectively. $100,000 grand prize in the Superflex, $300,000 grand prize in the Best Ball, and of course, $100K runner-up in that tournament as well. Pick up Dynasty Startups at myffpc.com. And don't forget about the FFPC Big Gorilla Tournament. Early Rampage Leagues. There's only 17 of them left. They will end on Sunday if they're not full. So get in now in case they do fill up. We have a midnight draft coming up in how many minutes here? A little bit less than an hour, so you can play in that. That'll be an early Rampage League. Remember, the early Rampage allows you the ability to compete for a $10,000 grand prize in those first 200 leagues, as well as $1 million grand prize. 2 entry fee or 2 tournaments for the price of 1 entry fee. How can you beat that? Spoiler alert, you can't. Go to myffpc.com and register for that now. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, and get notified, and share it with your enemies. Get notified each and every time we go live. Congratulations to all the Joes. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Ferrell, I don't often bring you back for this, but I'm going to. The old-fashioned division is full.
Yes, sir. It appears that our good friend Mr. Root
Chuck Root, baby. Yep, but Mr. Buck Chicken himself. So that's awesome. That'll be starting tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. KFFSC always is, as well as the FFPC. We're in the thick of it for fantasy football drafting season. For Ferrell Elliott, I'm Eric Balkman. Be good, everybody, and we'll talk with you again sometime next week.